Hello, everyone. Good night, and welcome to the fourth edition of Transcending Work, Harnessing the Courage to Lead. It is such a pleasure to have you all this week and a pleasure to host my guest today. So, my guest is a person who I met just around April, May, June area this year. She is an incredible public speaker, a former singer, a former corporate employee, a former many things, and she has made her way through life in the most amazing and incredible way that you can imagine. So, without any hesitation, I introduce to you Miss Dani Wallace.
Hello, I'm back here having a little dance. I'm excited, Catherine. Hello, my darling.
Hello, Dani, and welcome to the show. How are you doing? How are
I
you
am
doing tonight?
so good. I am so thrilled to be here.
So I see your backdrop is your morning show. So you have to tell us about this morning show. Tell my listeners about this morning show.
So at the start of COVID, there was a very real possibility that because I'm a singer and a public speaking coach, and I'm really very lucky that I've got like an online business, but I had a whole entertainment business offline. I would go out and do gigs up and down the country. And when lockdown in the UK was announced, there was a very real possibility that I was going to end up extending my lie-ins. And it was going to get later and later, and that was going to have a real effect on my productivity. So what I decided to do was to go live every morning, Monday to Friday, and get ready for work. So I'd get up at 8 a.m. And go live and do what I'd done for pretty much the last sort of 7 or 8 years. I've been going live on Facebook for the last sort of 7 or 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would do is, as a singer, you often play dressing room roulette. In that, when you turn up to a venue, you never know where you're going to get put in order to get ready.
Yes.
And I decided to stop playing dressing room roulette. And instead, what I would do is I would put my makeup on in the car. And to keep myself safe, I would put my phone up on the dashboard and talk to Facebook whilst putting my makeup on. So I thought, well, why not kind of go back to my roots a little bit? And I'm just going to put my makeup on for work in the morning, and then realized 2 weeks in that was going to get really boring. So I started to invite my friends on. I started to invite the entrepreneurs in my space, inspirational people, motivational people in my space to come and get ready with me in the morning, to come and get ready for the workday together. And as well, in an answer to the, putting on the news in the morning, which especially during that time it was heavy.
horrible.
Yeah. It was hard
Absolutely.
going. And I really
Exactly.
wanted to be motivating people and inspiring people and getting excited about stuff instead of allowing ourselves to be really weighed down. So then I carried on, and then another week went by, and another week went by, and then all of a sudden I've been doing it for the past 8 months.
It's incredible. Every morning at 8 a.m., I get a notification that Dani Wallace is live. It is incredible. So Dani, you said 7 or 8 years you've been doing these lives on Facebook, etc. Tell us about 10 years ago. Tell us about your journey, your transition to becoming the absolute superstar that you are.
Oh, thank you. It hasn't always been. So where I am now is that I'm in a very, very, very different place to where I was, say, 10 years ago. And where I was 10 years ago is a direct result of how I grew up. So I grew up on the council estates of Preston, and we were very, very much on the breadline. It's funny, I talk about this now in the media, on radio shows and in magazines and things. And my mum always gets upset. The first time I talked about this, she was like, Daniela, were we poor? Because she was just going through it. She was just she was making ends meet. She didn't see that that's what it was. And I was like, Mum, yeah, we lost our house. It was, we were having a tough time, and my dad was an alcoholic, and domestic abuse was actually inherent through generationally in our family. And as a child, we absorbed that. We watched what was going on, and it informed a lot of my choices when I got older. So when I was 16, I essentially ran away with the circus. So I started to sing. And I fibbed about my age, and I got on a plane, and I ended up singing all over the world in different places. Really what I was doing is I was escaping.
Yeah.
where I was. And, you know, we went to, I was all over the world. It was fabulous. But people like me, people like us from here don't go on to be entertainers or singers or entrepreneurs or, you know, online whatever's.
Mm.
So there was always this, you know, come back, get a proper job, come and get a proper job. So I
Yeah.
came back to the UK, and I was in a relationship, and really what I wanted to create was this stability and this, what I didn't have, this not chaos of my younger years. And it didn't really matter who that was with. I just had, there was like a husband shaped hole, and I just filled it with this guy, bless him. I completely railroaded him into, you know, buying a house and, you know, getting
Yeah.
married and having a baby. And he just kind of went along with it until one morning, a couple of weeks after we'd sent out the invites to our wedding, he he just woke up and he went, Danny, I don't want any of this. And he left. So I was sort of
Wow.
left on my own, single parent. 2 weeks after we sent the invites out to the weddings, I had to cancel the wedding. It was too close to the wedding to get anything back. So you can
Wow.
imagine, yeah. So I was feeling, am I allowed to
Mm.
swear? I'm not going to swear. I'm going
No.
to be good tonight, Catherine. I'm going to be a very good girl tonight. I'm going to keep a lid on my swearing. I just get excited. That's all.
That's okay.
Um, but I was feeling rubbish. I was
Yeah.
feeling pretty pooey. It wasn't right good. So what so very, very quickly, because I was in that vulnerable place, I got into very quickly another relationship, and that relationship turned sour in that I experienced an abusive relationship during that time, and had to get out of it. And when I got out of that abusive relationship, I was then a single mom of two children under 3, and then we couldn't afford to keep the house. So I had this kind of corporate job going along the top here, and then underneath, my life was in tatters. It was all I
Mm.
could do to hold on to this flipping job like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but we ended up homeless. So I ended up having to lose the house. And we were sofa surfing, me and the two girls, Poppy and Daisy, my big flowers. I've had Ivy since. She's like some foliage to finish my bouquet off. Um, but we were sofa surfing. We were sleeping at in my parents' house, my sister's house, friends' houses, and I was to and from London at
Yeah.
the time with my job. So one night, I was tucking my kids into bed, and um, I didn't. I I can't say that I wanted to die, but I didn't know how to live. I
Yeah.
didn't. I was like, I'm not of benefit to anybody. I'm not helping anybody, not even my kids. Like, I'm doing the best that I can, but the best that I can doesn't seem to be good enough. How have I ended up homeless with these two beautiful children? How have I ended up on my backside like this? I can't seem to make a good decision or hold a good relationship down. What's wrong with me? And I had a real, like, sort of breakdown moment. And I
Mhm.
had to decide in that moment, it was either going to happen to life or life was going to continue happening to me. And I don't think that was
Yes.
going to end very well.
Yes.
So I started in that moment, I guess, at night in the car, and it was raining outside. It's very dramatic. I'm sure, like when they make a film about my life, when somebody dead beautiful and famous plays me, there'll be a scene where she's in the car and it's raining outside and she's crying in the car, and there was that real, like that proper moment.
Yeah.
And it was from there I kind of got out of the car and I sat down and spoke to my mum. And I was like, Mum, I can't go on like this. I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know how to ask for help.
Yeah.
People at work didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. People at work saw that things weren't right, but I was trying to kind of put on this veneer that everything was okay and we was just in transition, but I was on my knees.
Yeah.
So I started a journey, as everybody does, whether this pivotal point in the film of my life, where I started to do a lot of work on myself. Okay, so what did taking responsibility look like? How did I choose better for myself? How did I choose better for my kids? What could I do? How do I ask for help?
Yeah.
And so it started off on that journey. So after that, not so long after that, we found somewhere to live. We were very lucky. And where I'm living now, so where I am right now, is in my bedroom, in the middle, still in the middle of the council estates of Preston, because that was where I had to move to.
Yeah.
So where I'm about to move to is like I can't even believe that this is happening, but we've just bought a house. We're just buying a house. We're in that horrible bit in the middle where all the mortgage is being sorted and you're holding on for your life. But yeah, we're just about to buy and move into what is the house of our dreams. So things have like moved on a lot since then.
Yeah.
But there was a real moment when I realized that, you get to choose.
Yeah.
And this brilliant quote from the Bee movie that goes, aerodynamically, bees should not be able to fly. Its little wings shouldn't get its fat little body off the ground. And the bee, however, doesn't care what humans think is impossible. The bee flies anyway. And
Yeah.
that was it for me. I was like, that's how you choose. The bee don't get the memo that it can't fly. It's just got to do it. And I was like, right, well, I'm going to send the memo back that people like us aren't successful. I'm going to roll my sleeves up, which is exactly what we went on to do. And it's been just a roller coaster ever since.
So when exactly did you become the queen bee? Was it directly after you watched this movie? How did this materialize into the queen bee?
I would like to say that I watched that film and then directly the day after created a public speaking business that then went on to turn over 6 figures, but that's not what happened. That sowed the seed,
Yeah.
and it got me to thinking. So remember, I was telling you about going live in the car.
Yes.
So during this time, I had lost my job in corporate, and I think it was one of those situations whether you are sort of down with universal energy or not. I am not in too much of a woo-woo way, but I definitely am. I definitely believe in life
I do as
having a
well.
purpose and all of that sort of stuff.
Yes.
And I believe that sometimes when you're too afraid to jump, you shall be pushed.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what happened. So I came out of corporate work and started to sing full time. And my diary filled up very quickly. I'm very blessed in that I'm good at what I do. So I was able to fill my diary up and we were safe. And I'd be going live in the car like this and talking to people about my personal development journey. And we were I would talk about, forgiveness, and I would talk about feminism, and I would talk about how to be strong as a woman, how to
Yeah.
be, how to speak, how to all of these sorts of things. And I would muse on stuff, and some of it would be really funny, and some of it would be serious. Sometimes I would cry and then put my makeup on again. And
Yeah.
it was so during that time that I was really thinking, okay, so actually there were people that were tuning in.
Right.
There were people that were watching regularly. They would have missed me when I weren't there.
Right.
And there's something really compelling. I don't know what it is about somebody putting the makeup on. It's suddenly people start to watch, and then when they watch and they listen at the same time, they start to get benefit.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, how can I create something here? And I really loved the concept of being the queen bee, of making a statement. I am the queen bee. It's a very bold statement to
Very
make.
bold.
Like, I'm walking up in places going, I am the queen bee, and people are thinking, who do you think she is? And it's not about that. It's a reclamation. It was me saying, when I'm saying I am the queen bee, I'm not just saying I am the queen bee. I'm reclaiming my birthright to success, to abundance,
Right.
to happiness, friendships like we have, all of this. I'm reclaiming that because I was really annoyed, Catherine, that the queen was born the queen and I was born on the council estates. I'm like, wag. Neither of us got a say in this. Yet somebody landed easier than me. And I was like, wag. So I thought, well, in this reclamation, in this statement, and the bees do the most incredible things that I could do we could have a whole conversation about bees and how amazing analogies for business and life we could use. But I Am the Queen Bee really spoke to this standing up and this choosing to fly anyway. And this, I love the concept of grabbing hold of your own crown and bobbing that on. And then, you know what? Seeing your friends, and if their crown's a bit wobbly, just straightening up their crown and sending them on their way as well. And that is really how the concept started. Is the more I spoke to people, the more I realized that yes, we all get to choose, but you can say I am the queen, but absolutely, as are you, as are anybody watching, whether you're male, female, gender non-binary, whatever it is, king bee, queen bee, royal bee, whatever it is. Claudia McFarlane is asking, hi Claudia, in your journey to self-development, what was your biggest challenge, the habits you needed to break? The biggest one for me, Claudia, was the acceptance of myself. So what I always sought was external validation. And what you find is that people often let you down. And I'm not saying that people like your friends or your family, but when you are seeking external validation, when you're seeking peace and happiness and wealth, because wealth isn't just the money in your bank account, when you're seeking those
Yes.
things from outside of yourself, then it is very difficult to obtain and keep hold of it. So what I had to learn was how to love and accept me in my entirety, with my flaws and my perfections, like, and be perfectly imperfect. And that didn't come till much later, when I started to see where I am now and practice gratitude. So I needed to break being a victim. I needed to
Yeah.
stop thinking life was happening to me and realize everything was happening for me. I just got to choose the outcome, and my reactions dictated my outcome. But there was this really funny moment that I had, and I was sat here and I was feeling grateful for everything that was going on, and I'm surrounded by brilliant people, because that's what I do now, surround myself with brilliant people. And then I look back, and I've done a lot of work on looking back on past Dani, that girl sat in the car who just hated herself. She didn't know how to live with herself anymore. And I look back on her and I go, God, I love you. I could cry. Like, I love her so much. She
Mm.
fought really, really hard. And then what she did is then fought really, really hard to get to where I am now. And then
Mm.
I can now envisage future Dani, because I know that now Dani loves past Dani, that
Yes.
future Dani loves this Dani vehemently. She's like cheering her on, saying, yes, come on, we've got the good stuff over here. You can do it. I love you. But it's me saying that to me. It's not anybody else saying that to me. It's
Yes.
not me giving myself that validation. It's me giving myself that validation. It's that understanding that it's got to come from you in order for you to be able to obtain and maintain that development. You've got to
Yeah.
understand and love and acknowledge yourself.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It's incredible, your journey, and I want to pivot a little bit to the point in time when we met. So it was around we met before, as in we were
Yeah.
in a group together, but
Mm-hmm.
we actually interacted because of Black Lives Matter. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you exactly remember, but someone, well, you must remember this.
I
Someone
definitely
decided
do.
someone decided to wire you up that week, and
Yeah.
it was about a program you were running. It was a charity program,
Yeah.
and Claudia is saying that she loves your energy. I'll just put that on screen.
Thank you
Um,
so much. Thank you.
so you were running a charity event,
Yeah, the
and
big festoon.
the big festoon, and someone decided to flag you for not being inclusive, or she
Yeah.
felt that you weren't being inclusive enough. And that week, like, I'll just tell a little bit my story in that week. I mean,
Please.
all sorts of things were happening in that week that I wasn't ready to deal with,
Yeah.
right? So all of a sudden, it's like people have been, impacted by racism all of my life.
Yeah.
But in that week, something happened. There was a shift. There was a movement that just broke things, and in a good way. But what I saw and what I experienced that week, at least online, was a lot of women like me coming out and speaking their truth. And I'm not used to hearing that or speaking it, and I felt so uncomfortable that week. I remember thinking, like, I can't handle this. Like every story that I read or I heard, I wanted to cry. Like it was just such a powerful week in terms of getting connected with things that you've been suppressing for so long. So I I empathize with that lady who got on your case, and you will get to tell the story, but I empathize with her because I recognize that even I didn't know the best way to deal with feeling oppressed.
Yeah.
So if you can speak about that.
I absolutely can, and it's really not my place to kind of fill up and get emotional for you and with you, but it's because you're my friend and I love you. But that week, I'd put on a charity event. Now, what I'm a survivor of domestic abuse, and uh, often watch the media with regards to what's being commented about it, because I am an ally and a spokesperson when it comes to things that happen in the news. So, for example, I go to speak on Channel 5 about it when, there are no refuge spaces and what have you. So I'd noticed in the news that there was an increase by 700%. So we were 7 weeks into lockdown, and the increase was 700% in terms of domestic abuse. And I was like,
Yes.
whoa. Sat here in my ivory tower thinking I can do something here. I'm going live every day anyway, so I'm going to make this happening. So what I did is from my bedroom is I created a charity event to raise money for domestic violence charities, Women's Aid and Gallup. And I was interviewing 24 people. It ended up being 25 people plus 25 sponsors. So I was like interviewing 50 people over the course of 12 hours to raise
Yeah.
money for charities. Now, it is something that I have been making a conscious effort to work on for a couple of years now, to make sure that the things that I do are diverse, or we have that in the middle of what we think
As a
about
core
when we,
value.
as absolutely a real core value. So when I was creating the lineup, or trying to scrabble together in a couple of weeks this lineup, I'm thinking, right, so it's really important. This isn't tokenism. I just wanted to make sure we had a diverse spread of people. So I didn't want a full lineup of white people, because
Yeah.
it's wrong. Like it wasn't, that's not right. So we had members of the Black community, we had members of the Asian community, members of the Jewish community, we had disabled people, members of the LGBTQ community. But you can imagine that's quite broad.
Yes.
But I thought I'd done okay. And like, I never should just pat myself on the head and go, yes, good job, Daniela. But that week, that very week, was the week that George Floyd was murdered. And that week was the week when really the lid was really lifted off the conversation, as is right and proper,
Yes.
about moving things forward and how should we move things forward. But when you rip a plaster off something that you are never allowed to expose, there's hurt there.
Yes.
And there's pain there, and you
Yes.
you experienced it yourself, and
Exactly.
being a friend of so many members of the Black community, and being an ally, and really sitting there and just trying to hold space was all that I could do, was just hold some space that week. Go and stand side by side with my brothers and sisters and siblings, and go and speak as a white ally and do all of those things, just try and hold that space, because it was painful. But I'd done this event because I was thinking, do I pull the event? Like, is it even right that I do it? And I just think, well, no, because there are still lots of other people that need helping right now, and they
Yes.
are also
Yeah.
members of the Black community that are victims of domestic abuse. So I would be
Exactly.
silly if I was
Yes.
going to stop all of this now. So
Yes.
what I did is I made a conscious effort on the day. I was like, made sure that we spoke about this with all of our guests, made sure that we were sharing relevant things on the day. But somebody really, and it was only really one person, but it was enough that from a real place of hurt was like, your lineup is not diverse. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a smear campaign and say that actually you've with what one of the things that was said is, this woman has just raised the Confederate flag, and I was like, what?
What?
What? I definitely
Oh my
haven't, like,
gosh.
because there's a difference between accepting that there's more to be done and
Yes.
something being just wrong.
Yes.
So
Yes.
again, but as a white person at that time, it's not my place to start going, well, actually, because there's so much pain. Like, what
Yes.
even is my pain in that? It's nothing. So it was
Yes.
all I could do was kind of absorb what it is that this
Yes.
person was saying, and this
Yes.
person was trying to create, like, at me, and just
Yes.
sit there and hold steady and say to my audience, look, yes, there was more that I could have done.
Yeah.
Of course, there's more that I could have done, but I
Yeah.
don't know what else to do. So what I'm going to do going forward is just keep trying my best. That's all I can do,
And
and
that's
look
the
for
thing.
ways to move forward together. And you
Mm.
reached out, and you were so kind to me that day, because I was in bloody bits and
Mhm.
feeling guilty for being feeling
Yes.
guilty for being in bits, because so many of my Black friends were. It's not. It's pain isn't even the right word, is it?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not.
Yeah.
It's generational, like, rage and hurt and
Yeah. It's
release
such a
and everything.
complicated emotion. Like
My God.
I don't think I felt something like that. I mean, I felt a lot of things in my life, but I think I've not felt a kind of coming out the way I felt it in that week.
Right.
That it was a release, and I
Yeah.
remember taking an action in that week that was probably overdue for 6 months, right? Because
Right.
of an experience that I'd had, and I took action in that week, saying, I will never work with this person, or I will never do this again. But it took that moment of realizing, hey, this is meant to be a balanced playing field for everyone. It's like, and you have in your mind that you know you don't even realize where you get this belief from, right? So you have this thing, this play, this track running in your head,
Yeah.
which isn't allowing you to step into yourself and step into
Mm.
your pride and step into who you are. So it's been an incredible journey, and I love that that's the moment that I connected with you, because you're such a bundle of light and opening so much space for so many people. And this is why you're on my show. This is why I have introduced you to everybody in all my
I want to
audiences.
hug you so much.
so so Danny, tell everybody about Fly Anyway, and
Hang
the
on, let me
foundation.
gather myself.
Sorry.
Oh God. I think I think when you meet people, I just kind of want to say, when you do meet people in those situations, when you meet them in love,
Yes.
powerful things happen. And I think that was what I learned at that time. And it was a test for myself. Could I hold space for anger directed at me that is righteous? It might not
Yeah.
belong to me personally, but can I hold space for that person? And the answer was yeah, it was my job. If this
Yeah.
all I can do is hold space for
Yeah.
that anger and say, do you know what? Just if I could be the sounding board for that anger for now while you're getting your thoughts in order, then please let me be your friend, and I
Yeah.
love you, and I will accept that anger from you. And I think that was what I learned in that moment, is
Yes.
how do I do that? And it's painful for everybody. The whole thing is, as people who believe that they're allies suddenly realize that again, that the curtain is lifted and they can start to see
Yes.
actually what they've been privy to all along,
Yes.
and they didn't
Yes.
realize it. So on both sides, plaster's being ripped off and like all of this stuff. So that's really what I learned during that time, is to how do you hold space for somebody who's angry, and the anger might not belong to you personally, but it still belongs to you. It's still yours. You still
Yes.
got to absorb some of it and understand how do you make things better. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to say that. But the Fly Anyway Foundation, something that's very exciting, is something that I've been wanting to create for the longest time, where if somebody like you, for example, somebody really inspirational like you, or somebody like me, had been able to look after me and really help me with my mindset stuff properly, because I had to go and read books and audibles and stuff. There is a degree of having to do the work.
Yes.
But if I'd have had access to business services, or like things like website design, branding, photography, because I'm clever, I'm very intelligent. I worked in corporate, an incredible job for years and years, and knew how to build a business. But I was so on my knees that there was no way that I could afford to have a website built. There was no way that I could afford to I could barely afford to feed myself and my kids. So what I've done is I've created a foundation, like a social enterprise, where survivors of domestic abuse who are ready are able to come and access funds and support so that they can create the businesses that they really want.
Yeah.
So often when you are a survivor, you will want to create the new identity of yourself, not a different identity, but the new, improved and galvanized version of yourself. And sometimes that involves like your work. Like,
Yeah.
what work do you want to do? And survivors often serve as well. So you'll often find that survivors will go on to be things like coaches, or they'll help people, but they might not
Yes.
have access to brand photographers or business coaching or
Yeah.
mindset coaching. So what we're doing is we are creating, and this is a call to action tonight,
Yes.
is we're creating a bank of ambassadors
Yeah.
who are willing to either donate or discount their goods and services, because it won't be for thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
Yes.
And then we'll have a pot of money that will fundraise, so that, say, for example, you're a fledgling company and you're
Mhm.
really incredible at what you do, but you really want to be an ambassador, we will be able to pay you for your goods and services. We're
Right.
able to support grassroots, because grassroots businesses are so important
Yes.
now, more so than ever. So we'll
Yes.
have this pot of money that will be available for us to pay for business goods and services for survivors of domestic abuse and domestic violence who are wanting to build businesses. So it's almost like that we get to hold hands and lift each other up.
Yes.
So we just
It's so
become a
powerful.
hub. Yeah.
Yes.
So we become a hub of small businesses and medium sized businesses and micro businesses and big businesses, actually reaching out a hand to those people out there who are ready to create, and allow them the space to do it and allow them the funds to do it as well. So the Flying Away Foundation is on the search for ambassadors, and we're going to be having a big sort of Zoom meeting about that on the 7th of November.
Yes.
No, the 8th of November. I'm a liar.
Eight. Awesome. So people can participate. How can people participate if they wanted to support the idea?
So
So
within the
we have Charlotte saying, I'd love to be an ambassador. How do we apply? Exactly.
So we are just in the process of creating the invitation and the space on my website where you can go and register your interest to be an ambassador. So before the end of the weekend, there'll be a space on the I Am the Queen Bee website where you can go on and register your interest, and then we'll send you an invite to the Zoom. It was going to be like a town hall at 7 o'clock UK
Mhm.
time on Sunday, the 8th of November. We've chosen the 8th of November because that was the day I was originally meant to get married. So that was the day that the wedding was cancelled, and also the day that I got made homeless. So
Okay.
I wanted to make that day a day where actually I took real action.
Yes.
So at seven p.m. on Sunday, the 8th of November. So anybody who wants to be an ambassador can either just make themselves known to me, come on into my world, follow me on the socials for more information, and then in the next say in the next sort of 4 or 5 days on my website, we'll be pushing out how do you sort of sign up to come onto that Zoom.
Yeah. Fantastic. So I'm absolutely willing to promote that. So when you're ready, send me the links. I will share with everyone. Um,
Lovely.
and the last thing I guess is to tell us about your book. So a little bit of story before we get to the book, right? So I think it was what, a month ago, maybe just under 2 months ago. Dani just locked off her show and started writing this book. I have never seen someone turn around a book in what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, it was 3.5 if you add for procrastination. But yeah, it was a book in 2 weeks is what I did.
That's insane. So
I'm an idiot.
tell us about your new book.
So what I wanted to do, so I wanted to create a book. I've got a little book which is like a how-to. It's called Closed Mouths Don't Get Fed, right? It's tiny little book, which is like a how-to. So I'm a public speaking coach. But because I share my story as a motivational speaker about well, really everything that we've spoken about this evening, about my story, where I come from, and how specifically I overcame years of generational self-sabotage to go on to create, a six-figure business in the online space and all of that sort of all of the kind of the entrepreneurial. I've got a successful business. It's nice. It's good.
Yes.
Um, but I really had to do a lot of work on myself in order for me to do that. Because if you remember, people like us don't go
Mm.
on to
Yes.
make a success of themselves,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So what I wanted to do was pull together like a mixture of an autobiography that fleshed out some of the talks that I give a little bit more detail, a bit more background on why it is that I do what I do. And then so tell the story of the last 12 to 18 months, because that's when things have gone from that to this.
Yes.
Whereas now, I am asked to, pass comment in the media on stuff, and I am, I do have like sellout events now, and it's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do like not a how to, but like a beginner's guide to getting out of your own flipping way.
Yeah.
And I thought now more than ever, it's important, because I think when you're in fear, and a lot of people have been in fear this year, and rightly so, because if I hear the word unprecedented one time, like I'll
Yeah.
vomit. But
Yes.
it's that I wanted to give like if I could give a survival guide
Yes.
to at least introduce how to get out of your own way so that you can create success, and you stand up and say I am the queen bee too, then
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to do. So that's the premise for the book. It's called I Am the Queen Bee: How I Overcame Self-Sabotage and How You Can Too. And it's released next Thursday. You can't buy it yet. You've got to buy it on Thursday next week, because we're
All
going for a
right.
bestseller campaign.
All right. So I will be tweeting and commenting and posting that everywhere next week. Wonderful. Any closing notes from you, Dani, on how people can find you, how people can follow you, even get into your morning show? Tell my audience what they can do to find
So
you.
if you would like to come and speak with me and get ready for the day on the show at Wise Up Rise Up Show, applications are open on Friday. So please do give us a follow either on Instagram, or drop me, if you're watching on LinkedIn, drop me a message on LinkedIn. Even though I'm not super active on LinkedIn, I am in my inbox there, so you can DM me, you can get in touch with me. Across the socials at the Queen Bee Dani. And all of the kind of the kickoff info will be on there. So you can apply to come and be on my show from Friday. If you want to become an ambassador for the Fly Anyway Foundation, we'll be banging that drum from Monday onwards.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's it. I think you just come and get in my world. And I'm excited because I'm working with you too, which I'm
I
just so
know,
excited to
I'm
see.
insanely excited. As of last night, so don't judge my public speaking performance yet, okay? But as of last night, I am working with this woman to help me to be the best speaker I could be, which is so exciting. Like I can't wait to get ripped into this. And the journey has been incredible for me. I mean, I can tell a little bit about that as well. But when I started in my business, I was afraid to be visible. I was doing everything behind the scenes, right? I didn't want to be out there. And that slowly changed, right? It slowly changed from around this time last year, but it really changed from around April when well, after I got over the shock of all my business going away after COVID, um, I suddenly realized, hang on here, no, I need to show up here. I need to do something. I need to be who I'm meant to be, right? I need to take
Yeah,
up space. And it's taken me a while. Like it's been a journey over the last 6 months, but I would have never imagined going live on LinkedIn or on Facebook or whatever a year ago, right? It,
or
it was
having a
it was unheard
charting
of.
podcast.
And or having a charting podcast. It's crazy. No, the latest in the podcast, 17 countries now, 17 charts. So it's nuts. And top 10 in 8 countries. Like seriously, it's nuts. And I
I
would
was
have
going to
never
say
imagined
stop it,
that.
but don't stop it because it's amazing. Yes.
I never would have imagined that that could possibly happen. And that's been a journey of being prepared to put myself out there. And it's like it's not that I had any training, right? I just went. I just did it. And now I'm going to improve those skills,
Yeah.
but part of it is to just go. It's about the courage. And I like to say to people, confidence is overrated. It's all about courage, right? It's all about
Yeah.
standing proud in your courage and saying, hey, I'm out here and I'm imperfect, but I'm
Yeah.
still going to do it. I'm still
Yeah.
going to push on. And I think you embody that.
Thank you. And that's the difference between people who make it in inverted commas. They're the people that are willing to do the thing that everybody else isn't willing to do. That are willing to record that podcast and put it out there, that are willing to turn up live at 8 o'clock every morning, that are willing to write the book, that are willing to spin all the plates of the incredible businesses that you run, that are willing to put themselves out there, invest in themselves. The people that are the confidence it's a hat that you put on.
Yeah.
Confidence is a knowing and acceptance of yourself. Confidence doesn't arrive one day. People wait for confidence to arrive, and it's not.
Yes.
It's a step that you take steps towards confidence.
Yes, absolutely. So I hope we have inspired many people tonight. If not tonight, I hope they all watch it on the replay. If you do watch it on the replay, hit hashtag replay so that we know that you watched. And we will post links so that you can follow Dani, etc. So thank you, Dani, for joining me. This has been an absolute pleasure. I love your energy. You lift my energy, so it's always a pleasure to spend that time with you. And thank you to everyone who's joined and asked questions and interacted with us. So see you next week for another edition of this show. Claudia says thank you very much. Fabulous. See you next week. Bye,
Bye bye,
everyone.
darling.